Hello and welcome back to the Elite Endurance Podcast. Today we're joined by Tom Mortimer. Welcome to the show, mate.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No worries. So for those who don't know you, can you just briefly introduce yourself?
So I'm like a 5K runner, so I'm based in Loughborough, originally from Stroud in Gloucestershire, and sort of got into running like through my PE teachers. So been doing it for 12 years now. And yeah, I love it. It's been brilliant for me.
Yeah. So obviously you touched on there, like you got into running with your PE teachers at school. Can you just talk about those kind of early years and what really like got you into running?
Yeah, I think I'd always done it really, like a little bit at primary school, and in secondary school, like sports days, that sort of thing. And my PE teachers were always saying like I should go and join the club, and a few of like my mates at school who were at the club were trying to convince me as well. And I wasn't too sure, like I didn't think I'd be that great at it. And but eventually they convinced me. Sort of went along, absolutely loved it, loved the people there. And yeah, sort of I've just been like progressing steadily ever since, I think. So yeah, it's been good fun.
Yeah, and then obviously, like you said, you're at university at Loughborough at the moment. Can you tell us a bit about why you chose Loughborough? There's obviously like quite a few options as a decent runner in the UK. You can either go over to the US or there's lots of other universities as well. What kind of drew you to Loughborough?
To be honest, it was partly like running, partly engineering. So it's really good for engineering here as well. So that was sort of the main thing, sort of looking through like the uni tables, and then just went to have a look at a few. I quite like the campus feel. It feels like quite tight knit. It's nice. And then obviously like the running's really good. Like looking through some best results, that sort of thing. Like Loughborough's hard to miss. So yeah, it was sort of that. It was one of those as well. I think wherever you go, you'll end up enjoying it. But it's sort of like for me, yeah, I've loved it. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, and I know obviously a lot of runners. We do try and stay away from the alcohol, but what sort of is there any party culture? My brother used to go to Loughborough, so I believe I've heard some stories of it. But in the athletic space, what's it like?
Yeah, it's pretty good fun. I mean, for me, like I'm a bit older now, so not so much. Partly because like of the running, but partly like it's a lot of younger lot. But yeah, back in the day, it was always pub deck, which is sort of big pub crawl with the athletics light in your kit, which is great fun. Yeah, I always really enjoyed that one. And then you've always got like the Bucks after parties, that sort of thing, which are always really nice, like meeting people from other unis too. But yeah, I think every race is a good opportunity for an after party, isn't it? So there's a lot of that goes on. It's good
Yeah,
fun.
definitely. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, my coach wouldn't like me saying this, but Leeds was pretty good the other week. So, but obviously, you're still studying at the moment. You mentioned earlier that you're a part-time student and kind of working a part-time job. How do you also fit that around your training usually?
It's not too bad, to be honest. It's quite nice in terms of like workload. I've not got a huge amount. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult to organize. I'm not the most organized guy. So like when there's a few different things going on at once. But really like my job's really flexible around training. So that's great. And then uni's also really like understanding. They've got like the whole sort of, obviously it being Loughborough, you've got like sports scholarship and all of that. Helps me fit that in. So no, it's at the moment my life's like pretty nice in terms of workload, and everything fits in really well.
Yeah, and one of the main reasons why you're on the podcast today is basically to celebrate you being injury free. You've had kind of a very long road. I think it was May 2023 was the last time that you had a pain-free run until just recently. Can you just take us through your Achilles injury and explain how the comeback's coming along?
Yeah, it's been a nightmare like all injuries are, but it's sort of I guess all started in April 2022 was when I first started getting the pain. And then I had a bit of a comeback last year and sort of but ended up not lasting that long. But just trying to shake it really has been a nightmare. I think originally it was just like a tendinopathy, so it was trying to manage it and build back into running, but I was never really managing to get for about a year. I couldn't get above 20 miles, and I was trying to get like completely pain free. And I think what eventually sort of helped me get back the first time was just learning to like run with a little bit of pain, but never let it get like so it was day after day. Just trying to get to a point where you'd feel pain maybe the next day, but then the day after that you'd be all right again, and slowly building from there. And then yeah, I tore it a little bit at the end of track season this year, so just after the Gateshead sort of trial for Road Worlds. And I think that was basically just like I'd gone from May and running a lot in spikes, maybe racing slightly too much, and it all just overloaded a bit. And thinking I could sort of run through the pain a bit, I'd just gone on too long doing that. But yeah, since then it's been really good. I think it's just been having like the patience to go away, not run for quite a long time, and build up the rehab, build all of that in. But no, it's good to be back running now.
Yeah, I bet you had some quite brutal sessions on the bike. Like it's so horrible because I was out for 2 months with a foot injury. It's kind of like around my ankle area, and like
That's a nightmare. Yeah,
like, I was getting set sessions that we would usually do kind of at like Bushy Park because I go to St Mary's, so I was doing them sort of sessions on the bike, and it was just ridiculously hard.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially, I guess, if you've gone from Bushy as well back to a bike, bit of a change in scenery. Loughborough's not quite so bad. Little road loop to bike doesn't seem so horrible, but no, yeah, I hate it. It's just your legs as well. Right from the start, you'll be absolutely binned, and then you've got to keep it going, haven't you? So it's horrible.
Have you found when you're coming back though, like your quads and your glutes feel so much stronger than any other muscle?
Yeah, it's weird. Like I've come back and the running seems to have clicked like really quickly. Because you sort of expect to feel a bit, sort of Bambi and ice sort of feeling. But it's all come back really strong, and definitely muscular sort of endurance wise. I feel like I've come on leaps and bounds, so it's nice.
Yeah, I think one problem like for me was that like transferring from running to cycling is hard, but the transfer back was so much easier. It took a few weeks to start like hitting the paces that I was before injury, but like the transition, the fitness is quite transferable. So maybe one day I'll get into the duathlon scene. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm always tempted. I quite like the bike, like outdoors bike anyway is nice, but bike not so much.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that you were. I'm not sure if this is like a thing in Loughborough, but on your Instagram, it looked like you had dragged the watt bike to the track, and you were doing it at the side of the track. What was kind of that?
It's quite nice at Loughborough, yeah. So we've got like the gym you can go to and watt bike there, but also there's a few at the indoor track, so it's quite easy just to wheel them out. And I'm trying not to at the moment. Like I think I'm really bad in the heat when it comes to the summer, so I'm trying to stay inside and almost get like that heat benefit from sort of sweating a bit more. But yeah, it is quite nice being able to wheel them out every now and then. Watch the boys do a track session, and it's good.
So are you still balancing that kind of like watt bike and running? Like how's that working out for you?
Yeah, so at the moment it's still quite like watt bike heavy. It was a bit last summer as well. I was doing sort of single run days and then topping up on the watt bike. I'm up to like two sessions a week now running, plus easy running most days, and then just everything else on the watt bike. So it'd be like a tempo on the watt bike and just some easy miles really. But yeah, it feels a lot nicer not having to go twice a day, but it's good.
Yeah, definitely. But you touched on it a bit earlier, but you qualified for the World Road Running Champs at the Great North 5K, but because obviously you ran through injury and you tore your Achilles slightly, there's obviously some unfinished business there. So kind of, can you just first touch on like how kind of sad it was that obviously you weren't able to compete, and then now going into this year where there's lots of championships coming up, you got the Europeans, you got the Olympics, and I think they're doing the road again later on in the year.
I think so. I'm not too sure. Yeah.
Like kind of what's the goal for this year? Is it just getting back from injury, or is it all systems go and trying to get on the world stage?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it'd be nice to get sort of back on world stage, but I'm not sure whether this year, like how realistic that is. But I came back really quickly. I'm not too far behind sort of timescale of where I was last year coming back. And and I'd say by May I was in shape to be sort of running qualifying times, that sort of thing. So in the back of my mind, it's there, but I think I'll see how it goes for the first few races. See, like, I don't want to get too ahead of myself and then be disappointed. But yeah, it was weird going in like qualifying for that, obviously, and then like the kit came in post, and then literally the next day I think I'd torn it. And originally I thought it was just like a flare up in sort of a tendonitis, so I ran through it for another week, thinking like it'd be fine, a few anti-inflams, just that sort of thing. And then yeah, I went for an ultrasound, and yeah, you could see a little tear on it. So it was really disappointing. But it's life, I guess. It's one of those things, like, you're going to miss races every now and then. So I tried to sort of look at it from that point of view. And like, obviously we've got this year there's lots of champs, I mean, the next few years. So it's not like job done, I guess. There'll be more opportunities. And in the end, I actually went out to Riga and still watched, because my parents had booked flights. So I stayed in the Airbnb they'd booked. And I really enjoyed just going and watching. Like, it's a really cool event. So yeah, nice opportunity, even though it didn't get to run.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I was looking through your PBs. You're quite close to the European 5K time. Is that kind of a possibility that you could kind of dip under that 13:20?
Yeah, hopefully. I think it's definitely doable. I think like last May, maybe I was in the shape to do it and didn't quite pick the right races, that sort of thing. So I'm hoping to get out to, is it IFAM, I think, this year, which is like one of the fast Belgian ones. And I think that's like the last day or two of qualifying for Euros, and there's not a trial. So hopefully if I ran really, really well, there's a possibility of Euros. But again, like, it feels like a long way away at the moment. And definitely we'll see sort of what shape I'm in, because like a lot of guys have got the time now. So yeah, it'd be tough to sort of do enough to prove I'm better to go than then, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like what's crazy about I know British athletics kind of took a really hard line last year on saying we're not going to send anyone to the championships unless they got qualifying times. Do you think that having this standard has actually made everyone step up their game? Because I mean, you've got like the likes of George Mills, Jack Rose, Patrick Dever, James West, and Charles Hicks. They've all got either the European standard or the Olympic standard already. How do you think that that's kind of like changed the whole scene this year?
It definitely, I mean, yeah, it definitely seems to work, doesn't it? Like, everyone's running really quick now, and it's nice. Yeah, it's nice to see the 5Ks looking really strong. Like, maybe not quite the 15 yet, but we're sort of getting towards that depth, which is really cool. So it's sort of exciting. It's obviously like, it makes it a bit tougher to make teams, but in a lot of ways, that's what you want. Like, you want to feel like you've earned it. So now definitely exciting time to be like a 5K guy in the UK.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I mean, looking towards British champs, obviously, to get to the Olympics, there's going to be pretty much like a massive dogfight between the 5K runners. If you were to place your bets on someone and it can't be you, who would it be and why?
Yeah, I think it'd be like, it's hard to look past George Mills. I think like he's got the range, obviously. So in a championship sort of race, especially British champs, it's not known for being like a really quick race. I think he'd be tough to beat. But also, I mean, Paddy, I know from Loughborough, obviously, I think he's really good in like a championship race. He'd probably go a little bit sooner, but like, yeah, I think he'd be one to back as well, definitely.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether Charles Hicks decides to come back or he stays in the US and just like does the 10K out there. It'll be very interesting. And then obviously can't sleep on Jack Rowe.
Jack, I mean, yeah, Jack, like, I think he'll be similar to Paddy. They'll go with similar tactics, and they're, I think, on the same team now, aren't they? So
yeah, like,
that would be interesting. They could sort of get each other through. But definitely, like, I think it's gonna be a really exciting race, which is lovely.
Yeah. And then obviously for yourself, you do you back yourself in this race? Obviously, I know it's probably quite hard, considering you don't have the standard yet, and you're still coming back from the injury. But do you feel like you've got a chance?
I think so. Yeah, I think I'm getting better and better each year, sort of championship races, and I've not really like had a clear run at one yet. So I'm hoping like if I go in injury free and with a really nice like solid block of training behind me, I'll be competitive. But equally, like, yeah, not going to say I'm going to be going and winning it. I've not really, I don't think, shown anything that would say I'd be able to do that. But hopefully, building in, like, I'll be able to have a chance going into it and, like, yeah, be racing for the win.
Yeah, definitely. So I've heard rumors. I was doing a bit of digging on you that there could be a 10K on the cards this year, maybe.
Yeah.
Is there?
No.
No.
There was originally, I think, back in September we were talking about maybe doing Highgate, and I think I'd be like decent at 10K. I think especially in the track, it seems to suit me a lot more than like the road and the cross. But just like obviously with the new rules around spikes and that, you can't wear big cushion shoes. And that doesn't really suit the Achilles. So I think it would be a little bit too much, a little too soon. But hopefully in the future, like Highgate's a race I really want to go and run. And I'd quite like to go and do that sound running 10K as well. I think that's like the next few weeks, isn't it? So hopefully, yeah, I'd really like to do one in the winter as well. Just, I feel like I've still a 5K, maybe a little bit of 15 in me left. But it'd be nice to try a 10K, and like if I could do one in February, March, that would be ideal.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the night of 10Ks in person?
I've never been. No. So yeah, hopefully I'll go and watch some mates this year. But no, it looks amazing even just from home.
Yeah. Last year I worked with Trackstar on the content out there, and it was I can't even describe how loud it is there.
Yeah,
it's almost
it
like
looks unreal.
It's almost like if you were to. Did you go to the London Diamond League at all?
No, I've never been to that either. Yeah.
Okay.
Come down London.
It's
all.
Yeah, definitely, and it's. I would say it's almost as loud as that because everyone is just standing shoulder to shoulder, like on the both the women's and the men's finals. It was like
it's all right there.
It was just everyone's on top of each other. Like as a cameraman, it was so hard just to even get between the crowd. To get like onto the track, and like it was just but the thing is like the atmosphere is crazy, and even early on in the day with the kind of slower races for the men's and the women's, like the atmosphere is just crazy. Like I don't think I've seen as many like diehard fans in one place at one time than at the night of 10K, so it's definitely worth coming down.
It looks epic. Yeah, definitely one for bucket list. Like, hopefully next few years, because I'd hate to sort of miss it. Really, like, I mean, hopefully it's around forever, but who knows?
Yeah.
And I got a little bit of experience with it. Like they did one out in Germany, but they're like trying to get that Highgate feel, and that was a bit quieter, you could see, but it was unreal. So, yeah, hopefully real thing soon.
Yeah, was that the one? Was that like another on track night sort of event? Or was it just something similar?
I think just something similar. It was in Karlsruhe, so that was a really nice event. Actually, I really enjoyed that one. But yeah, sort of similar idea. They're trying to get people like right up to the track, and it was super cool.
Oh, I think was that the one where Callum Elson paced you, and then you came off the front?
Yeah.
Can you actually talk us through that race? Because I remember watching it and just seeing you just absolutely like storm away from the whole pack.
It was an interesting one, that, because I think I was in really, really good shape like early doors, and which was kind of a shock because I got back to running late January that year. So we'd sort of emailed them a few weeks out and said, could we have maybe like 60 freezers for pace? And they'd said no, which was fair enough because I think that would have been maybe just me going with it, which probably not ideal for anyone. But they said, 64s we're looking at. We've got some other guys who want that in the race. So I was pretty happy with that. And then I think a few guys dropped out, and we sort of got on the start line and we're told it was 65s, which I was like a little bit disappointed with. It sort of went out about sort of 65s pace. And I was getting a bit frustrated, not going to lie, like sat in. I felt really, really good. It just got to 3K to go. And I think the pacemakers have been told to stay in the race, and they could like race for the prize money as well on top of sort of their pacemaking fee. But yeah, I was getting quite ready to go, so just snuck through them inside, and I think a little bit of frustration about, but I like properly drilled it, and then popped, like I think it was 2K to go when I got on the front, and then popped with about 800 to go because I just overcooked it completely. But yeah, it was good fun. It was a really good event. It was just like going in, I was sort of hoping for a little bit more. So coming away, frustrating, but one of those.
Yeah. In terms of like time trial and tactics for the 5K, I've only
Mhm.
done, I think I've done 2 or 3 now, and I just can't get that last 800. What
Yeah.
what do I need to be doing to nail that last 800? Because every time I've led the race, that's probably my biggest mistake. I've led the race the whole
Yeah.
time. I've been off the front, like for the whole race, done all the work, and then just the
Mhm.
last 800, I feel like I just have nothing left to give, and everyone just comes
Yeah.
around you.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's so hypocritical for me because I'm that guy who always goes to the front, but you never want to be at the front in a 5K until like as close to the finish as you can get. Just, I think the extra like mental strain of like being on front, having to try and like hold the pace, but then everyone else has got like easy rides out on you. I think that's like one of the biggest things I've been learning the last few years is that you've got to be like the freshest going for the last few laps. You can, if you want to like front run a race, you've got to be like a lot better than everyone else, and like I'm not. So it's, you've got to play your cards right, go sort of leave it as late as you can. I quite like the cycling, so I watch a lot of that, and they always say sort of you've got to be the one who, like, it's weird, but the one who wants it the least. So go in and say, I'm happy to take the risk of sitting in, trying to bait someone else into like taking the pace, that sort of thing, and just sit and wait till the last possible moment. And that sort of is counterintuitive because you want to give yourself the best chance, but sometimes like best chance is making sure you're fresh for the end. So yeah, I think it's one of those. It's like you don't want to be anywhere near the front for as long as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so weird because also like that 4.2K, I feel like I don't like actually feel like dead, but just everyone else just feels a lot fresher than you. So it's
I
not
know what
like
you mean.
it's not like you're dying, like, but they're just coming past you because you've kept the same pace the whole way around. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
just so frustrating.
George Gandhi always used to tell us like the first 3.5K is like half a race, and then the last 1500's almost second half. And I feel like that's pretty true, like just mentally as well. The last few laps are the hardest. But yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, what was it like having George as a coach? Because I obviously know that you've now got Chris, but like prior to that, obviously you had quite a legend of the sport. I mean, he coached like Jack Buckner back in the day,
Yeah.
and I think he also coached, was it Steve and Seb as well? So
Yeah.
so what was that like? Just having someone that's obviously like such a legend in the scene being your coach.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, I mean, you'd always get stories from him about Jack Buckner, especially. So it was quite nice. Like, you go away from a meeting with him, and it'd be like, "This is what we used to do with Jack Buckner." And yeah, it's just really cool. And he was such like a great guy. Like, he'd always be there to help you, that sort of thing. Like, I was having a bit of trouble in my second year with like uni work and running and sort of balancing that, and he was really good. They do like a split year thing at Loughborough, so you can stretch your final year. And he was really good, like helping me sort of get that. And yeah, but no, he was brilliant. He had so many like stories about running and everything else. He's just great fun.
Do you have any of your favourite stories that perhaps you could reveal?
Favorite stories from George. It's one of those like I always mind like this sort of thing because I feel like there's so many. It's hard to pick one. Just stuff like little things like you'd be in the weights room with him, and it's suddenly you'd be doing like bench press or something, and you'd suddenly just get on the bench press, and you'd all be sort of looking at him like, "Nah, he can't be about to." And he'd just start like benching like more than all of us as well. So super embarrassing for us, but you just watching him like, how are you doing that? And it was just little things like that. Just it was really funny.
Yeah, definitely. I always find it funny. Like we have like the performance education center here at St Mary's. I'm not sure if you ever like been around St Mary's, but like we were in there once, and we had Craig Winrow just like come in and just absolutely shout at everyone, "Let's get massive!" And it's always good to have like a good like coach relationship, especially.
It just keeps you going, doesn't it? And
yeah,
George was always like that. Like he'd always have his sort of Loughborough songs and stuff before Bucks, that sort of thing. And yeah, it was good atmosphere.
Yeah. Speaking of Bucks, then, obviously you absolutely trashed St Mary's this year.
Hopefully many more. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's such a big rivalry, but we've kind of dipped off the scene really because I know a lot of our kind of big guys that we had, like Ellis and stuff, they've kind of moved on and graduated and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What do you think is dragging everyone to Loughborough and Leeds? Because you guys seem to be getting a lot more like good guys than
Yeah,
us.
I don't know. I feel like Birmingham as well now are getting some really good guys like Will Barnicoat, that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think for us, it's probably like being able to see guys who are doing really well, like Matt and Ben, and sort of people are drawn to Loughborough because of that. They're like, I want to do what Matt's done, I want to do what Ben's done. Um, and I think, yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, it's just the more like good athletes you have, it like brings others in. But yeah, I don't really. It's one of those like um, I don't really know how the ups and downs work because like Loughborough had a bit probably of rough patch at points as well, but eventually sort of sorts itself out, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. And obviously, speaking of Ben, you live with
Mhm.
Ben, and he pulled an absolute blinder at the Worlds. What was that like for you as someone who lives with him and also like trains alongside him?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's weird because like you see Bennett training, he's like around the house as well now, and like you don't think anything of it. You don't necessarily look at him and think, oh, world bronze medalist. But then you see him like on world stage there, like he's on your telly, and it's mad, yeah. But you can see like why he's there. He's so like has his routine, like all the little things he's really good at as well. So I think for me, it's like big learning curve. I can look at what Ben's done. Hopefully, a bit of that rubs off on me. But yeah, it was mad. Like watching, we were all screaming at the telly. He's nuts, isn't he? It's great.
Yeah, yeah. It's so crazy just to see the way that he's kind of come to Loughborough and then just all of a sudden just had this rise. Is that
Mhm.
is in terms of like the UK setup? Obviously, we have quite a lot of athletes from the UK that end up going to the US. But in
Mhm.
terms of like the UK setup at Loughborough specifically, how do you think that really helps kind of athletes develop?
I think like Loughborough, especially, it's quite a small place, so everything's like there. You've got it all on your doorstep, really. And then just having like the other good athletes to train with like makes a big difference. You've always got someone to go out and run with, always got someone to go to the gym with, that sort of thing. Um, and then like now, especially, I think there's more emphasis on things like for example, blood tests. Like I've been having a few of those for like iron, vitamin D, that sort of thing, and it's really nice. You can see like areas you can improve, and S&C as well. We've got S&C testing, so I think once a week we're doing, is it counter movement jumps? I always forget what they're called, but like jumps and the force plates, that sort of thing, and you can see like your fatigue, how you're progressing, that sort of thing. So like yeah, there's it's really good just in Loughborough. You've got everything there, and it's easy to sort of go out and train hard when yeah, it's made so simple for us basically.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously for the like if it's like the everyday runner that's coming to Loughborough and they want to improve, is everything also available to them as well to like the force plate technology and things like that?
It's pretty good, yeah. I think there's maybe some of the things like the testing, that sort of thing, it's more like sports scholars, but in terms of facilities, you can access everything. And then coaching as well, like you've got like the whole range, so it doesn't really matter how quick you go, and you'll have a coach who's setting your training plan. So yeah, it's really nice, especially like if you come in. One of the mates, George Watson, he came in. He wasn't maybe like the best runner, but he's run like 28:40 or something for 10K now, and that's just like he's had that slightly more specific training. And yeah, it sort of shows you can come and start like improving quite quickly. It's yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, definitely. Like one of my friends, he's when did he come to Loughborough? Probably 2 years ago now. And I think he
Mhm.
joined and he was running probably similar pace to what I was running back then. So it would have been like 34 minutes. And then within a
Mhm.
year, like he just dropped into like 32s, 31s. It's just crazy to see like that progression like that you guys get. And I think I'm definitely seeing it here as well. Like I've just joined
Mhm.
some Marys this year and it's it's interesting to see like how people absorb different sorts of training, like from the stimulus that you're doing before, and then you go to a setup where you can actually push
Mhm.
yourself harder. It's crazy
Yeah.
to see that progression. Is that something that
And
you saw when you kind of went to Loughborough?
Oh, for me, definitely. I think I sort of when I got here, I was bit off a bit more of like a chill in terms of training. I try and go with like the older lads, and yeah, it didn't work out for me to start with. But once I'd sort of got my head around like not binning myself every session, like it really started to click, and you can just sort of pick your way through the group, like you know where you should be each session, and yeah, it helps just bring you on so much. Just having someone to like chase or someone to train with, extra motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I know when you were younger, you competed like in the under 23s. Can you just like talk about how kind of the GB selection worked back then? Because it's obviously a lot different now. Because I think you competed on the track and also in cross country as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just about. I think the cross is always a struggle for me. But yeah, the selection sort of it's been interesting. I think they put a lot more emphasis now on like you have to turn up to a trial, that sort of thing. Whereas for me, under 23s track, I think I was quite a long way at the time. So I ended up like focusing a bit more on like 15s in the build up to try and be really like sharp for the under 23 Euros. And like got away with that. Whereas I think now you'd have to turn up to a trial. But other than that, I think it was pretty similar. Like you had to hit the time, that sort of thing. Maybe the times were a little bit more lenient. I'm not sure if that's like shoes or just BA like pushing for us to go quicker. But it was all like relatively similar. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so now onto the slightly more fun section of the podcast. It's the no context track section. So I showed you a photo earlier of yourself. For those watching on YouTube, I'll put it on the screen now. But can you just tell us the story behind this photo? And for those who's listening, just describe the photo as well.
Yeah. So actually, probably not the most interesting story of this one. It was, but it's Euro under 23 cross. So that was like the team photo at the end. I think we were second behind the Irish boys, and like it was Irish home cross, so big crowds, which was really cool. Like I think it was like 8,000 people there watching. So it's pretty awesome. And like if you had to be beat by anyone on the day, like to get beat by the Irish boys home courses, you know, you take it. Yeah, it wasn't my best race, but then as life in the course, one of those like muddy, not really my sort of thing. But yeah, that's just us on the podium as a team, I think. So it's what I'm going to forget people here, which is going to be embarrassing. But I think Matt stood next to me. Then we've got Zach, Roy Leonard, Charles Hicks, obviously, and oh god,
there's
Sam
more.
Charlton.
Yeah, Sam Charlton. Yeah.
Yes, we got that. There we go. Yeah. So no, it was brilliant team, good fun, good trip.
Yeah, it's crazy to see that. I think all of you guys now, you've all got a professional contract in this picture. So Rory's just signed with Hoka. Then you got Zach with Nike, Matt obviously with Nike as well, Charles with Nike, and then obviously Sam with New Balance. What is it like to be under 23 and be competing with these guys now and seeing them move up like almost alongside you yourself?
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, like it's nice to see everyone sort of make it through. I feel like that's not rare, but like it can be a bit hit and miss with making it to like senior level. But yeah, at heart, I still kind of feel like I'm 23. It's weird being a senior now. I feel like I've still got like growing to do, and I'm gonna keep improving hopefully. But yeah, it's nice to be like racing those boys still, and like I've raced them a lot through the age group, especially like Rory. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, I don't know if you find this, but I get this a lot because I'm 23, so I think I'm just 1 year younger than you, or I'm turning 24 this year. So
yeah,
maybe
1 year. Yeah.
So do you find that you still feel like almost like an 18-year-old when you're at uni?
It's so odd. Yeah,
it's
especially
really
like
strange.
Loughborough. Yeah.
I
feel old. I'm like the oldest guy in Loughborough now. I think there's one guy a bit older than me. It's horrible. Yeah, it's the only place I think you can feel old at 25. But yeah, odd feeling.
Yeah, it's always strange because I always have to remind myself that I'm actually older than everyone, because we'll be at training and people think that they just assume I'm in my first year of my undergrad, and because I'm quite short, like I've got quite a baby face as well. So at training, like someone came out to me the other day and was like, "Someone just told me you're a master's student. Like, why didn't you tell us?" And I was like, I'm pretty sure I made that quite obvious that I was a master's student
Yeah,
from when I joined, but it just kind of slipped everyone's mind. They just thought I was a fresher.
pressure, and yeah, ask you how freshers is going, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the two final questions of the podcast. We ask every member that's ever come on the podcast these two questions. So give it your best shot. What is the funniest story that you have from running? So it could be like a drug testing story during the competition, at training, just anything really.
Yeah, I've got quite a few actually. I'm a bit of an idiot, so I've got a lot of funny stories about me and running. But one that springs to mind is doing like a little local league when I was probably like under 15, and we'd always go and like have a bit of fun after our race. So 15 would be like our main race fair, and we'd go and have a bit of fun after. So do like the javelin, and we did a 400 once. The javelin was always pretty funny. Like one of my mates threw the javelin up, got caught in the wind, ended up with like a negative throw. The 400 was where I like excelled at embarrassing myself. So I remember going into one, standing on the line. I'm out in like lane 8, and there's a guy in front of me with a gun, like a starter's gun. So I'm thinking, oh, it's probably going to be like pretty loud coming from in front of me. And this, going on your marks, we're all stood there. And hear this gun go off in the distance, but I don't really think anything of it. I'm like, it's not ours, because ours is going to be like loud and in front of me. Everyone comes storming past me on the inside. My coach is like at the side going, Tom, you can go now. And I'm still stood there. And they false started the whole race with all these like 400 guys like taking it quite seriously, just because I basically hadn't been paying attention. And I went on to run, I think it was a 67. So not that quick either. And that was so embarrassing. Like everyone on the track just sort of watching you stand there on the line as everyone else has started, and not good. Yeah.
That's quite funny. I think as well, like there's never any full starts in long distance, but as soon as you get down the distances, it seems like there's a full start like every other race.
I'm so glad I do. Like the distance stuff is simple, isn't it? You just get going. If I had to do anything technical, I'd be stuffed.
Yeah, definitely. So then the final question of the show, if you were stranded on a desert island and you had to live out your final days with someone throughout history, whether they be factual or fictional, who would it be and why?
Okay, I've had the whole time to think of this and I'm still like mind blank. So I'm gonna be boring and go over a runner. We'll go with Steve Prefontaine, because front runner, like ask him all about that. Ask him how he managed to do it successfully as well, because obviously I don't manage that so often. And yeah, I think it'd just be an interesting guy to talk to, like obviously interesting like sort of running history.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's quite weird about Steve, because then you could actually tell him how much of like a star he is now.
It's mad. I wonder if he'd sort of have expected it. Like obviously he was pretty big then, but yeah, to go on to be like what he is now and sort of running as a figure is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because obviously he was coached by Bill Bauman, one of the like legends of the sport as well. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what he has to say about it. Well, you're going to be stuck with him for a long enough, because you're never getting off that island. So
yeah, I'm not a good enough swimmer, so I'd be there a while.
Well, no, what I've explained to people before is there's almost like a force field. You can't leave anyway. So even if you can go for a swim, you're not getting anywhere.
Can't wait to boat or anything. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we had one guy come on and he was like, "Oh, I'll just choose like Iron Man and then we'll just fly off the island." I was like, "No, you're not getting anywhere."
Mate. Yeah, I'm not that smart. I'd be stuck on the island anyway. I think even without like force field. But
yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Tom. And for those listening at home, we'll see you for another Elite Endurance podcast next week.